Hello world, welcome to my channel, Proteus Augustus. I'm an artist, scientist, and American Constitutionist. Today is January 1st, 2022. 2022. Let's see if that works. Every year, I know I'm going to put 21 down, not even think about it, right? Anyways, this is the Monroe affair, part 4. In this part, I just want to show how now from the last video on that afternoon before I had to be in court, what happened after that, right? That'll come in the next video. I'll start it here, but I have to show how the federal case was dragged in and I didn't introduce it. Okay? Reason being, when I went to court the first time against this judge, not against the judge, but hey, she was making the decisions, right? So as a litigant, I have to state my position, right? That's not disrespectful. It's disrespectful when the law is ignored, you know, for some kind of, let's say, bias, whatever that may be, right? I don't care what you want to call it. To me, it's just that kind of human against humans like me or you know? I mean, some people try to take advantage. They want to take things from people, right? Well, anyways, when I went in front of this judge, she didn't, you know, let me say a whole lot. When I told her I could file an application for a criminal complaint, like I said in the last video, that caused a little bit of an issue with her, right? But after that morning before in part 3, when I had to find a place to go and go 25 miles the next day without any money, I had to get a pass. And what happened after that? There's some depraved indifference, I should say, by the state of Colorado. I'm sorry, right? I mean, you know, at some point, the enforcement of the will of certain persons, you know, not the whole state now, because these counties are acting sovereign on their own. Anyways, I'll get to that. All right? So anyways, when I went in front of her, and she said, this is in federal court. Because I filed an application for a criminal complaint in federal court, and I didn't mention anything of that to her at all. Okay? So I had to appear against her the second time. Right? So anyways, what set me up for the position I was in before the second hearing, and it was always an option, but I wasn't expecting it. And that is, you know, arresting me on a warrant, right? But I'll get to that too in a moment, right? So I go to the Federal Appeals Court on an interlocutory, right, to redirect the lower court judge. And that judge wanted me to explain why I thought he had the authority. Well, I cited the statute, because there is a statute for interlocutory appeal, right, under certain case law. And I felt that my case met that, right? Also, prior to that, last September 20, I filed for an injunction to protect my privileges to drive while the declaratory judgment was being ruled on, right? And I told them that if they didn't give it to me, that I would eventually, you know, have to not be able to drive my car, right? But that doesn't mean they get to pull me over and make something up like they've done to a lot of people, right? This extends a lot farther than people realize, right? So anyways, overnight, right, I go down to Blanca, to the post office, to look for the appeal court judge's hand, right, the next morning. Now, I forget what date it is, but, you know, you follow. Anyways, so I get there, and I get a reading, right? Nothing had came in yet. And so I go four-wheeling on my property, and I go off-roading, And some neighbors thought I ruined my car, but I didn't. Right? My car's made for that. You know, that's why I have a shop for my car. That's what my car is right now. Right? I still have my car. I own my car. Right? And that's why I repair my car. My car's ready to go. But anyways, if I wasn't prepared, I could have lost my car also. Right? So they called the cops. The cops said that it was careless driving. And they, well, he tried to attack my insurance. I gave him my insurance, and I also gave him my license. And then he challenged both of them, right? And I even wrote down my insurance. My insurance company already said that, no, we had insurance. I went down to the state when I got them to knock that out. Okay, and the license out. So the only thing that was on this table is this so-called careless driving that I had video on. Right, but what I didn't know is that was the 26th of January, and the appeals court came down with a ruling. You know, they didn't quash the whole thing, but I mean, I don't agree with the ruling, but hey, you know, I wanted a judgment, right? So it's the same day that this cop, you know, so I calls up the appeals court, and I found this out, see? You know, that the clerk told me basically that the appeals court judge says he wasn't done yet. And so I had to wait, basically. But that's your final appeal, right? That's after the judge has all this to say. But in my opinion, it was clear, right, that the case couldn't be fairly heard to begin with. It's wasting everybody's time, right? And if the court wants to waste time mulling off some simple law there, as far as I can see it, right, then he should have granted my injunction. I'm a disabled man, and the harm that's coming to me, there's no harm that could come to the state. But anyways, I filed that for a removal after the court pulled me over on that jurisdiction because I was so far removed up here in Denver because I still had money, but I had to find a place to, you know, generate some more revenue, right? And you use services because, you know, I own property, but these people were attacked you can't live down there without a car, right? They know who the hell I am. This is all bullshit, right? But anyway, so I tried to remove it up into the 2nd district, like I said in earlier videos. In any other state, that would have been acceptable because it's a state charge and the state is supreme. But here in Colorado, these counties want you to appear for them. They're claiming sovereignty when it's excuse me, when it's a state statute that's being violated. When you go in front of the judge, it doesn't say the county. It says it's got the state seal because it's a state charge. The judge should have allowed that removal. That has been appealed so many times in other states a long time ago, right? Because it puts an undue burden on me. How am I supposed to get down there when the very thing they're charging me for prevents me from getting there, right? There's no public transportation or anything. There's no way a man could get back and forth without a car, right? That's why I came up here. So anyways, I have to tell you this, right? Because they had a warrant out. And I talked to many cops, even in Aurora, and I said, well, I'm waiting on the courts to decide whether to remove it or not, because the 2nd district just denied me out of hand, which I thought was unfair. I didn't appeal them because I had one in the federal court, and that's where the conflict of interest comes in, because I'm suing Castillo County for $100,000, and ain't many of them, right? So like I said before, they're the ones that are gonna have to pay. The taxes are gonna have to go up. I'm not gonna pay myself. You know what I'm saying? Or they have to have insurance, one way or the other, because they committed crimes against me, right? So unbeknownst to me, bringing us back to the 23rd of August, the day before, I have to appear in front of the judge a 2nd time. And unbeknownst, you know, because I didn't know that the judge down there raised bond up to $1,000. I didn't have to pay him $1,000, but that's what they're using felonious assault for, right? Well, I'll get to that, right? So I go to court against this woman, right, Miss Monroe. And she's sitting there reading statements from Mr. Gruppa. And she's stating that I got kicked out of Volunteers of America. And she said I got kicked out of the Salvation Army. And like I said, the day before, right, I got kicked out of the Salvation Army. So, I mean, I already mentioned that in the previous video. But anyways, I hadn't said it in front of the judge yet. And that's what I wanted to say to the judge. Because she has the authority within her to bring charges. I mean, a clerk can. A clerk magistrate can. You know, all it needs is probable cause. And then you can go, the state can go for an indictment if they want. Or if that's what the defense wants. But like I said before, they're proxies for us. They're not the absolute power. If you bring a legal document to the public, right, the clerk looks at that. The clerk magistrate can make a decision based on what probable cause is, right? Anyway, so even in my case here, right? So anyways, I go in front of the judge, and she's saying all these things, and I'm objecting. It's hearsay. You know, I'm like, Your Honor, you gave her the opportunity to bring people here today. They're not here. This is hearsay. And she goes, I know, but I want to hear what she has to say. I'm like, you know, I don't understand this, right? So she goes on and on some more. Nothing about me saying anything to her. No, she's championed once again, like she did in the first time, you know, how she's protecting the neighborhood or whatever. So anyways, that wasn't going anywhere with the judge, but at the moment, and so I objected again, right? And so the judge wanted to keep it narrow. The judge wouldn't let me bring in she wouldn't let me say anything. You know, she was already going to squash or quash, whatever you like to call it, a quash of Miss Monroe's argument, you know, her complaint, quash the complaint. So when the judge told her, you know, you have nothing here, you're not credible, right? And she throws it out, right? And I'm like, Your Honor, you know, she didn't let me say a thing, so I couldn't record that. I said, well, what I said was, I says, Your Honor, I want a copy of everything that she said filed in this court. And she goes, well, she hasn't filed anything yet, but it's all right here underneath this clock. It's recorded, right? And I went, oh, thank you very much, right? If I hadn't already said that. So the case was over rather quickly, and I had a witness, right, on my phone who sent me text saying that Miss Monroe threatened everybody else in that house. That if they had said anything, that she'd kick them out too. I mean, it is what it is. So you can't get around that, number one. I had that in my pocket. Judge didn't let me say that, but I still have that in my pocket. And I have time to suit him. She can't get around that, right? But anyways, I put out a subpoena for him. And he agreed to me that he would take it without the service. You know, he would take electronic service. All right? And he consented to that. But the judge quashed that subpoena. Wouldn't let him talk. He was late. She was done by the time he showed up. Right? I mean, but still, he could testify, number one, that she tried to intimidate him because he wanted to be protected. He called me that morning on my way to the court. And he was late. And by the time he called me, I already knew he was late. Because I was way ahead of him. You know? I'm not saying he's a good man, you know? But, and he did show up. The judge didn't let him say anything either, which is a bummer. But between me and him, you know, she's going down. It don't matter, I don't need him because he sent me the text from his phone. He can't get around that. That's a fingerprint. That's the whole point. That's how they put people in prison and shit, man. Come on now. Right? Just like the guy down in Castile County that tried to extort me out of $500. I got it on voicemail. Guy asking for an extra $5, says he's talked to the county. This is unreal, people. It's unreal. So anyways, I win that case, and then things changed for me. And I'll talk about that in the next video, part 5.